What's up YouTube, it's your boy Deadly Man and we back with another video. Today's video, extinct animals the ancient Egyptians saw. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm kind of into like ancient Egypt and animals and yada 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 history type shit, you know what I'm saying? So we gonna watch this and yeah, we gonna see what extinct animals ancient Egyptians saw. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff so we can keep doing these videos and I can keep growing. But yeah, let's get into the video, man.
In 2015, the University of Michigan coined the term Egyptomania, a reference to the obsession that many people have with ancient Egypt. Such an obsession is actually rather understandable, as it was a one-of-a-kind civilization that managed to endure for over 3,000 years, making it one of the longest-lasting civilizations of all time. It's typically thought that ancient Egypt began in 3150 BC and ended in 30 BC, following the death of Cleopatra and the establishment of Roman Egypt.
You know what I never got, bro? In these movies, why do they use white people as ancient Egyptians? Like, this obviously don't look like an ancient Egyptian, bro. She's white.
During its impressive existence, Egypt saw the creation of many inventions and innovations in nearly every field. But they didn't just witness man-made wonders, as the earth was a different place back then too,
I also want to visit
with nature being
Egypt
more
too.
pristine and wild than it is today. In fact, while the Great Pyramids of Egypt were under construction, woolly mammoths still roamed the earth, or at least in a small part of it. Additionally, nearly every country was different than they are today, with Egypt in particular being quite unrecognizable, as it was cooler and wetter, especially during the early days of ancient Egypt. On top of this, the Egyptians built most of their civilization along the Nile River, which at the time was more lush and wide, partially attributable to the lack of human interference. As a result, the ancient Egyptians enjoyed, and sometimes disenjoyed, a wide range of nature that is no longer seen in those lands. This includes animals that are no longer found in Egypt, but yet are still kicking in other areas of the world, and those that are entirely gone, unfortunately. And one such animal that is no longer around, at least in the wild, is the Barbary lion. You may have heard of this mighty feline, but probably didn't know that it's sometimes called the Egyptian lion, as once upon a time it was relatively widespread throughout Egypt, inhabiting deserts, mountainous areas, and the steppe bordering the Nile. Barbary lions were giants who could measure over 8 feet or 2.4 meters from head to tail, with 19th century hunters describing it as the largest kind of lion around, with wild males often weighing 660 pounds or 200 kilos, which is roughly 15% heavier than extant lions. Yet despite its massive size, this lion wasn't technically a distinct species of feline, nor even a subspecies, rather a very specific population of Panthera leo leo, aka the northern lion, and it had a rather complex relationship with ancient Egyptians. For one, as it didn't live directly near human settlements, commoners seldomly encountered this lion, leading to the mystical belief that they guarded the kingdom from outsiders. However, encounters did still happen once in a while, namely through attacks on farmers or cattle, though such instances didn't occur frequently enough to be considered a major threat. And so ultimately, most people never saw these lions, but yet they still understood that they were the fiercest predators in the land who could take down prey much larger than humans, like buffalo, wild boar, and occasionally even elephants. Opposite to the regular citizen, high society had a much closer relationship with the Barbary lion, incorporating it into religion, art, and writings. Royals specifically encountered them a lot, and often tried to emulate their power and prowess in their own rule over ancient Egypt. During their time of coexistence, it wasn't uncommon for a pharaoh to keep Barbary lions as a pet, or even train them to guard their throne and chariot. Sometimes they were also buried alongside these great lions, demonstrated by a fully grown male that was found in the tomb of Tutankhamun's wet nurse. Another case involved 5 lion cubs that were part of a ritual mummification, proving that sometimes it may not be in your best interest to be revered. And this is further seen in the hunting of adult Barbary lions, as multiple pharaohs hunted them in order to prove their own bravery, best exemplified by Amenhotep III, who killed 102 lions in 10 years. Though funnily,
this is why they went extinct, bro. Cause they used to hunt these shits for fun, bro. They're hunting animals for fun. That's why they went extinct, bro.
Funnily enough, despite his hunting bravery, he only showed up in battles once. Eventually, due to increasing aridity, desertification, and hunting, the Barbary or Egyptian lion vanished from the lands,
Yeah.
bringing an end to this majestic feline, at least in ancient Egypt. Another extinct animal that called these lands home and had a much closer relationship with commoners was the auroch, scientifically known as Bos primigenius. This was a species of cattle that is often considered the wild ancestors of cow. Although, unlike their domesticated brethren, aurochs were differentiated in the fact that they were giants, weighing anywhere from 3/4 of a ton to over 1.5 tons, making them more comparable to bison than cows.
Okay.
And they weren't just simply bigger, since they also had different proportions than what is seen in living bovids, with their legs being long and slender, while their necks and torsos were more stocky and muscular. Their horns too were upgraded versions of those seen in domesticated cattle, being far larger in size. This all paints a picture of one mean cow, and indeed it was, thanks to a personality that matched its menacing appearance. Aurochs were well known for being less docile than modern cows, and would even regularly kill each other during mating seasons. Their aptitude for violence may also be why they were less social than other bovids,
Yeah,
with
males
herds
get
typically
aggressive
being
during
small
mating
and
season,
seasonal.
for sure.
However, ancient Egyptians didn't necessarily fear the auroch, as they actually played an integral role in society, usually through the meat they provided via hunting.
Probably
This
tasted
hunting
good.
also helped the economy, as meat and bones could be sold at markets.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, there is some evidence that
Probably tasted
aurochs
real good.
were kept in small groups that could be relied upon for resources. Although, in spite of their usage, people were still aware of its tempered personality, reflected by aurochs being a symbol of power and prowess within ancient Egypt. Sadly, its power and fierce temperament did not save it in the long run, with it now being extinct throughout the entire world. That being said, the aurochs did manage to outlast their ancient Egyptian acquaintances, with remains being known from Roman Egypt. But alas, they stopped there, with the main belief being that loss of habitat and human hunting took it out. This spelled the end for the aurochs native to Egypt, but other subspecies did manage to survive, with one group persisting until 1627 in Poland's Jaktorów forest, where they too ultimately went extinct. Now admittedly, while a supersized cow is interesting, it's probably not as mystical as this next creature, the Bennu heron.
A
As its
heron.
name so perfectly suggests, this is an extinct species of heron that was extremely distinct from others of its kind, thanks to its record-breaking size. Fossils and Egyptian art show that adults routinely stood taller than humans,
Really?
averaging about 6.6 feet or 2 meters in height,
Good lord.
making them equal in stature to the late Kobe Bryant. And if it was alive
big-ass
today,
bird, bro.
the Bennu heron would be considered the tallest bird capable of flight, dethroning the current champion, the
The bird could fly? Dang. A 6 foot bird flying is crazy.
Saurus crane. Yet, this extinct heron wasn't only gifted in the vertical reach department,
6 foot
as
6
Bennu
bird
herons
flying.
had crazy wingspans too, that could measure over 2.7 meters or 8.9 feet,
It's like
which is
Wembanyama.
34% larger than the wingspan of an ostrich, Earth's current heaviest bird. Paleontologists believe that this heron inhabited the wetland areas of the Nile River and feasted on a mix of fish, turtles, amphibians, small mammals, snakes, and even baby sharks, thanks to its size.
Baby sharks.
Its stature also seems to have left a profound impact on the ancient Egyptians, as many think that Bennu, the ancient Egyptian deity who represents sun, creation, and rebirth, was inspired by this great heron, and thus it likely received much worship, especially in Heliopolis, an ancient city that was the cult center of
Heliopolis.
Bennu. Furthermore, following the trend seen in many other Egyptian animals, the Bennu heron was subjected to being buried alongside mummies, specifically in this case, in order to protect the deceased. Sadly, beyond its symbolic importance, not much else is known about the interactions between Bennu herons and humans,
That's a big bird, though.
although
bro.
it's possible that they were hunted, as overhunting is often thought to have played a role in their extinction, along with wetland degradation. And by 1800 BC, they had disappeared from the fossil record.
Humans
Bennu
hunt,
heron
like,
wasn't
every
the
single
only
animal,
Egyptian
bro.
bird to get eradicated, as another one which lived alongside it was the elusive Madam goose. Not to be confused with the medium goose, which doesn't exist. This little guy was in nearly every way a normal goose, sharing the same diet and similar habitats. Where it differed though was color, as Madam geese possessed unique color patterns, not seen elsewhere. But what truly makes the Madam geese remarkable is that it's the only animal ever discovered through art, and as
Oh
of
my
yet,
goodness.
no bones belonging to it have been found. This monumental achievement has led to the artwork in question being named Egypt's Mona Lisa. The 4,600-year-old piece depicts Madam geese being trapped by a clap net, where they are then given as an offering to a royal subject, suggesting that at the very least, ancient Egyptians likely hunted them and used geese as offerings.
Yeah.
There are some ornithologists who believe that it may represent an artistic rendition of a red-breasted goose, but the patterns in the artwork do not match exactly, and this would be a departure from the accuracy seen in the other animals displayed in the piece, leading to the idea that it likely was a different species. Understandably, because we only have this painting, not much more is known about the Madam geese, but its method of discovery remains quite nifty. Despite the apparent trend that every extinct animal was admired to an extent by ancient Egyptians, there was one that was not as appreciated, and this was the North African elephant.
North African
This
elephant.
trunked mammal was a subspecies of African bush elephant, who was much smaller than other subspecies, with fully matured adults being more comparable to Asian elephants than African ones. Although similar to their family members, these guys did have proportionally large ears and concave backs, giving them a distinct appearance. In the early days of ancient Egypt, they could be found throughout the kingdom, within grasslands, savannas, forests, deserts, swamps, and highlands. Such a diverse list of habitats may sound impressive, yet North African elephants were never particularly common in ancient Egypt, having experienced years of population loss beforehand, which ultimately led to them not lasting long, and by 2900 BC, they had fully vanished from the area that makes up present-day Egypt. Their extinction may have been exacerbated by people, who, while living alongside them, despised these elephants with a passion, as they regularly consumed their crops.
Oh.
Moreover, while they weren't necessarily giants, they were still elephants. And so, adults were still bigger than your typical mammal, and herds would unintentionally destroy small structures and agriculture when simply moving around. This led ancient Egyptians to forcefully drive elephants out of their natural habitats, or just outright kill them.
That's crazy.
Their precious tusks didn't help their cause either, as the Egyptians prized ivory for their use in carvings, thus leading to more killings. And there is some loose speculative evidence that once in a blue moon, they were also kept in training camps, which definitely couldn't have done their numbers any good. Following their eradication from Egypt, these poor elephants would still find themselves pestered in areas they remained, like Eritrea, as they were killed by pharaohs during hunting exhibitions, with one hunt alone claiming the lives of over 120 elephants. They were also simultaneously used as pets, kept at zoos, and sent to war. Yup, you heard that right, the North African elephant was used for war, with the Ptolemaic dynasty in particular having extensively utilized them for battle. Naturally, being used in war didn't help their already hampered numbers. Nevertheless, they still persisted, until that is, the 4th century AD, when Roman imports of these elephants for usage in games and circus took a toll far too heavy, bringing them to their final demise. Hippos, which called ancient Egypt home too, also received rough treatment from their human counterparts. Yet fortunately for them, the population that inhabited Egypt was made up of the same subspecies that is still seen throughout Africa today, meaning they're extinct only locally in Egypt. And like the northern African elephant, these giants, and sometimes chaotic creatures, enjoy damaging crops, thus angering humans. Yet they also took it a few steps further, by attacking boats, mauling people, killing livestock, and just in general causing havoc. Apparently, it was such a problem that even pharaohs got involved, sometimes unwillingly, as Narmer, the first pharaoh of Egypt, kindly demonstrated. As in his 62nd year of rule, he was carried off and subsequently killed by a male hippo.
62nd year of rule. The nigga ruled for 67
hippos and humans didn't
years,
get
bro.
along in ancient Egypt, leading to targeted attacks on hippos. The desolation of crops by hippos was actually so bad that early pharaohs wound up spending a lot of resources on the extermination of hippos, and focused on driving them out of the marshes, which they successfully did. The survivors of the onslaught took refuge away from civilization in Upper Egypt, but yet still remained targeted, with later pharaohs routinely hunting hippos in ritualistic ceremonies. Miraculously though, in spite of ancient Egyptians' best efforts, hippos managed to outlast them and every other animal featured on this list, with herds actually surviving in Egypt all the way up until the early 1800s. Clearly, Egypt had a lot more nature back then compared to now. And that's not to mention the host of other locally extinct animals that I didn't have time to mention, such as giraffes, spotted hyenas, addax, and baboons, amongst others, all of which helped make ancient Egypt one interesting place. And that about wraps up this episode. But two quick announcements. The first one is that I'm thinking about launching a website for Extinct Zoo, which ideally will serve both as an educational website, but also as a little corner on the web that
All right, man. Well, that's the video, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. I'm gonna try to reply to comments. But yeah, see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one, man.